Hey, welcome to this live stream that we are joint co-hosting. I'm Jason Rom.
I'm John Wagnon.
Bill Church.
And Michael Coleman.
And we're going to do a very brief call here just to discuss the, how you do remote work. And then we're going to talk about some video conferencing top tips. And so from a remote work perspective, Bill, what's your top three?
Oh gosh. So, I started this about 11 years ago, working in sales and remotely. And the hardest thing for me to do originally was get out of bed on time and actually treat it like I'm going to work. I think it's real easy to fall into the mindset of, hey, I can just roll out in my PJs and, walk over to the computer because I don't have an hour commute anymore. And there's a mental aspect to getting ready in the morning and going through that process that I had to. I mean, it was something I had to do. So that was number one for me. I think the other one was I also made the mistake when I was trying to, work from home and really work with not taking breaks. So I would sit down on the computer at 8:00. And then I'd look up and it'd be 6:00 at night. I'd go to the bathroom and things like that, but I wouldn't take a lunch break. I wouldn't take, just a little rest period here and there. And, you can do it, but it's not enjoyable at all. You definitely need those breaks to kind of, one, break up the work, but then two, you need to kind of recharge a little bit. I mean, you have to eat lunch, right? So that was probably the third thing I did. Or the second thing I did. The third thing though, so when I get stuck on a problem, I like to, kind of go away and think about it. And one of the mistakes I did early on was, I'm a gamer and I had my Xbox in my office with me. And I would just say, well, shoot, I'll just roll over, bring up on my TV and start playing a game, kind of like think about this thing. And what I found is that you just completely lose track of time and you don't want to mix those two worlds, right? So if you are kind of person that needs to go out and take a break and not think about the problem, separate your office from home, right? Have a dedicated spot where when you go into that office, it's work time. Your children know it, your spouse knows it, and it's treated completely separately from kind of your recreation. Those are my things.
Yeah. What about you, Michael?
I'd say pretty similar. When I started at F5, it was a whole new world for me. I mean, I went from driving into work every day, and this is working on almost 9 years now. I was a director at a small systems integrator, and I'd wake up in the morning at 5:30, get the kids off to daycare, drive 2 hours, the 17 miles from where I lived in Virginia to where I worked, and I do that drive home every day. And really, the first week that I started at F5, I went into the office with a suit on, and my boss said, "What are you doing here?" So I was thinking, I thought that I had a job here. Well, what's going on? He's like, no, we don't come in here. You go home. You work from home. And I kind of fell into the same trap as Bill, where I didn't know what I should have been working on. I mean, this is a long time ago. So I would sit at the email. If something didn't come in, I'd jump on the Xbox and then lose time. But the big thing for me was figuring out my routine. I'm a former Marine. I'm big on having a very regimented routine. I wake up at the same time. I have the same exact process every morning, brush my teeth, whatever. So I come down, make my tea or coffee. That's my whole morning process to get into the office, boot up. I don't generally read emails right away. I take a look at whatever I was working on the night before, see if anything solved itself. I do generally tend to get dressed. I find that on days when I just come down and start working in pajamas, that it's going to be one of those types of days. And making sure I eat is a big one. I even still sometimes now forget to eat. I didn't eat today, so I'm starting to realize it. We just get caught up in stuff sometimes. I know there's a couple of other bullets at a lot of things on the internet, and I kind of set up my office right now to kind of argue a lot of those points, don't have distractions.
I was wondering about that.
So you guys can see around, I've got a bunch of stuff happening in my office right now. I've got a couple monitors on. I don't have it set up. I can switch this camera here. Let's see. Oops, what happened there? There we go. So I can switch this. I've got a TV on in here. But yeah, I think those are the big ones. Coming in focused, having a proper workspace. Like I've known a lot of people that could grab a laptop and sit down on a sofa and start coding and start doing things. I can't do that. Like if I'm not sitting properly and focused, I'm not going to get work done. Another big one that I can't really show here is I've got a convertible desk. So I've got buttons that can actually, if they want to work right now, raise and lower my desk.
Mm.
So that's messing everything up right now in my office. But that's a big one too, is being able to stand up sometimes because we're not out building fences and shoveling hay. We're sitting at a desk all day and talking to customers or working on problems, and it's not very healthy for us. And I found that getting up and moving around is pretty healthy. And I know a lot of us, when we started F5, we went through like speaking in public courses. And one of the big ones is when you're on a phone call or when you're doing things, stand up and speak. And it actually changes your voice and the way that you come across to customers. I say those are my big ones.
What about you, John?
Yeah, I would echo most of that, if not all of that. I know I was same kind of thing. Before I joined F5, I was at a job. I had to wear a suit and tie every day, went into the office, that whole thing. And, and then suddenly I'm in this place where, at F5, you can, if you work from home, it's like you guys have said, hopefully you get dressed every day, right? And if you're not on video, then people would not know that or whatever. But it's important. It's important to have a routine to say, I'm going to get up at the same time every day, just like Michael just said. And I'm going to do my morning routine. I'm going to eat breakfast. I'm going to, whatever. And then I guess there's kind of a blessing and a curse of work always being right there at home with you. It's a blessing because, hey, you get to work from home. There's flexibility. If you need to get up and do something, that's fine. But the curse is that the work is always right there. And so, I have found that after dinner, you go in there and it's like, hey, I can just, log back on the computer or whatever, and I can just keep on working. And then just what these guys said, hey, it's like 10 o'clock at night. And it's like, dang, man, I did not mean to go that long. And the wife and the kids and all that stuff, they're like, what's going on? For me personally, I had to set up kind of some boundaries with my kids coming off of that other job where I was gone. I went into the office every day. And then now suddenly I'm home, right? And so the kids are like, hey, daddy's home, man, let's dog pile, jump on top of daddy or whatever. And so, that's, it's great, obviously, to interact with the kids, but it's also one of these like, hey, you've got to set some boundaries with the whole family to say, hey, if I'm sitting here and my computer's on and I'm typing or whatever, or I'm on one of these video calls, like if you can see me in my own screen, that means I'm probably doing something, that's important right now. So anyways, had to have a little family conversation, and kind of let everybody know, not only for me, but for the kids and all that. So that's important. But just to maintain that routine, and also, like I said, it's or like everyone has said, it's easy to go and say, hey, it's 10 o'clock at night and I'm still cranking away, because I'm just so focused on this thing. It's good to have a stop time, short of some kind of catastrophic thing or whatever that you got to do. It's good to say that, hey, when it's like dinner time or whatever it is, then I'm done for the day and I'm going to put it up and it'll be there tomorrow. Unless, like Michael said, maybe some stuff fixes itself overnight, which if that's the case, fantastic, right? But anyway, so it's, I guess to say it succinctly, act as much as you can like you are going into the office. You're just going into the office in a different place. It's there at your house now. So, but you need to do a lot of those routine things, the same. So those are a few things I would add.
So my two that you guys haven't already said that I'm not, one of them I'm pretty disciplined at, the other one I'm not so disciplined at, is the first one is making a list at the end of the day. And I will take the last 10 to 15 minutes and summarize the things that I have not completed so that I can get that out of my head so that I'm not thinking about that for the next few hours. And so just get it down, make a list. And as a geeky as I am with technology, if I don't write it with paper or on a whiteboard, it's like I didn't really write it. So just scratching something down on paper is important for me. And so I'm pretty disciplined at that. The part I'm not so disciplined at, but is a good thing for me, is to commute to my desk, is to take a 15-minute walk before or after work. The one thing that's hard, and it's kind of hand in hand with the list, is that if I end my day and immediately go hang out with the kids and my wife and stuff, I'm still processing my day. And so I'm not mentally with them for the first 15 to 30 minutes, even though I'm physically with them. And so having that separation and having a commute time to where, one, to Michael's point, getting up and moving and getting the blood flowing, finish your day with a quick walk. You can process and put everything where it needs to be, so that when you are home, you're home.
Yeah. Good stuff.
One of my big things was, I've got 4 daughters and they're loud. So I bought this rock wool stuff off the internet, and I built these little panels around the house that help prevent echoes from coming into my office. And then even in my office, looking at your lightboard studio, and you guys have the acoustic foam everywhere.
Yeah.
You can't really see it too well here, but I've got it sort of circling around in the back areas, and I've got a big panel in front of me to keep me from echoing and to kind of block some of that reverb in. But yeah, that helps a lot, is having the sound.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
for
like
sure.
you're down in the panic room, style. Right. Good stuff, man. No, hey, we all get that. Another thing I was going to mention too is just the fact that you work from home, you're there by yourself in terms of, no other F5 employees right there with you. I think it's cool to feel the freedom to say, hey, let me jump on a video chat. I know here with the whole coronavirus thing and all that, our Dev Central team has set up kind of a 30-minute water cooler standing meeting each day. And while that may be true for the whole coronavirus thing, whatever, I think it's good to say, hey, let me feel the freedom to just call up, a friend or a buddy or whatever, and then just kind of have some water cooler type chat. So to kind of break up the day a little bit, make it feel like you're connected. So anyway, so just don't feel like you got to be at work, doing, coding for 8 straight hours or whatever. Right. So.
Well, that's actually a good segue into the last thing we're going to talk about before we break this is video conferencing tips, and how in this world where we're going virtual, and maybe for a lot of companies, this is the tipping point with the coronavirus, that more and more of this is going to happen now. How do you take the reality of technology, which is cold by nature, and make it still warm? And to your point, taking that time to connect with people with water cooler talk is good. What are some of your other ideas, guys, and how you engage in a virtual world to be connected and to actually convey what your message is and hear from your audience how they're receiving it?
I think for me, being somebody who usually goes on site and visits with customers, it is a difficult transition, because one of the things we usually open up was just, chit chat, right? Hey, how are things going? Talking to the customer and kind of just understanding, what they're dealing with. And doing that over video conference actually is very helpful. You can do it on the phone, but it just doesn't come through quite as well. When you can see somebody face to face and, kind of read their expressions and, that sort of thing, I think it's incredibly helpful to, get a point across. And, they say a picture's worth 1,000 words, right? Same thing with a video conference. When you can read somebody and you're saying something and you can tell they're just not into it, or, they're getting pretty excited and they're leaning forward a little bit. And, that I found that to be incredibly helpful. We have a interesting population with the customers that Michael and I service. Not all of them can use video conferencing due to security reasons. So we don't get to use it as much as we'd like. But man, I tell you what, for the ones that do, it's incredibly helpful.
Yeah, I'll say a big piece to kind of tie on what Bill was saying. When you have customers and partners and others on your video calls, it's harder to misunderstand people. So like over text, I can send you something, you might take it the wrong way, or over email, or even just over voice. You're much more likely, because you're still hidden behind the internet. You're still sort of an anonymous, disembodied voice. So we can have disagreements that escalate very quickly. when you can see people, like Bill said, you're able to read body language and kind of get the vibe for what's happening. It's much easier to sort of control that from rolling out of control.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. Agree. It's, it's like you said, I mean, a picture's worth 1,000 words. That face-to-face is so important. So yeah, it's better if you can do the video thing. I think it's cool too, just, if you're on a call, Bill, I know you talked about the first few minutes are just kind of the chit chat stuff, so again, feel free to have that kind of stuff. I mean, I saw an article I'm sure we've all seen it. The NCAA men's and women's basketball tournament is going to go with no fans this year. And who knows? I mean, I don't know if they're even going to go at all. I haven't heard that part, but hey, we could talk about that. How crazy is it going to be to watch the Final Four and there's nobody in the stands? Is that crazy?
I think it's crazier for the players. Like how is that? How are they going to get up? Are any of the low seeds going to be able to beat a high seed?
I know,
without the excitement of a crowd. I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
Man, think about the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, what are they known for? Home of the 12th man, right?
Yeah,
all the 12s. It's like, well, what if all the 12s are gone, man? That's crazy.
Home field advantage.
So
gone there.
Anyway, so I mean, just little topics like that. It's like, hey, let's talk about life for a couple of seconds. I think it just helps keep it real, right? Because we're all just real people doing our thing.
And I don't know how it works in kind of our space, but one of the things my kids, we've homeschooled our kids for many years, and they're high schoolers now, and they're doing online classes, and so they're in virtual classrooms with actual teachers, and some of the ways that they keep them engaged is they do little interactive quizzes, and they will have they'll mention something and they have to raise their hand or whatever in order. So there's that instructor student kind of engagement. Do you see that tools like that are more helpful just to find engagement with your message if you're actually doing more presenting and it's one-to-many versus one-to-one, or do you think that's more gimmicky?
Gosh, for me, I feed off of being able to read the room, so it's incredibly helpful for me to be able to do that. But if I can't, I still think when people see how you present and your mannerisms, right? That's a lot. You're kind of selling yourself, and you're selling, what you do as much as you are, trying to convey, technology or teach about a product or something like that. So there's definitely value in it. I think, like I said, I like it to be two-way, but that's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
Mike, what do you got?
I'd agree. I mean, I come across one way over email, and then when I can stand in front of a room and kind of play it or somebody can see me, people generally get that I'm a little bit goofy versus how I might come across over email. And I think it helps. My kids also have the cyber schooling, and we're in the limiting phase right now. And we are in our next stage is where they do everything online. So we've got cyber schools and stuff in Pennsylvania that are pretty good, which they're all online K through 12. And then since my wife works at a school too, I guess she'll be home kicking the kids around all day, making them keep their mouths closed while I'm working.
Yep.
But I'm all for involvement. Whatever can keep people engaged and involved is big. But I think our current setups and things now for doing things remotely are very helpful, internally as well as externally. I mean, there's lots of guys. I mean, we're around 5,000 employees now, and there's lots of guys that, you guys go out and you'll go to an event, an internal event, and people will know you, but you won't know half the people that you're speaking to. Maybe their name, but you won't get their face. And we get that, or I get that quite often too. I mean, there's been, I'd say, a good amount of turnover in the past 9 years that I've been around. So I get people asking me questions at internal events that I don't have any idea who they are. And I'll tell you their name one time, and it's like, I don't know you until I see him on a call. And I'm thinking of somebody in particular where I had him repeat his name to me about 15 times at a sales kickoff. And I still didn't remember it until now. I've seen him on Zoom, and now I remember his name. So I can connect with you, and it kind of ties that name to a face and makes things a little bit smoother.
Yeah,
for sure.
That guy had to be thinking, Mike, how many times does it take, man? to tell you my name.
Man, I think it's 100 for me. It's like I'm
No, I
bad
get
with
it.
faces and names, and
Hey.
so I got the double whammy.
We're all there.
Some people are bad with one or the other. I've got it both.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, people.
It happens. It happens to every one of us. So I was going to say one other quick thing as well. Whenever you're in like a face-to-face actual room with other people and you're talking, there can tend to be a lot of cross chatter kind of thing. You know, hey, Bill's talking to Mike over here, Jason's talking to John, and John, whatever. On a video chat like this kind of a thing, that doesn't work nearly as well, because as soon as someone starts talking, you know, the software, whatever, is going to go to that person. And then someone wants to just put a little parenthetical expression or whatever in, it doesn't work. So I would just say maybe be aware of that and be patient with people on that. And if you're trying to say a little funny one-liner to kind of get something in, it's probably not going to work.
Yeah.
So,
It's like 90% of what I do, so I don't even know how to add value to a call now.
I'm lost. I've lost my whole identity.
I don't know what's in my hands.
What I say, yeah. I have to think about what I say when we do these things, because then I get messages from Bill's wife busting on me the whole time.
Nice.
Another thing I have to worry about.
Well, I think we're I guess it passed the point where we thought we were going to stop here. So we'll go ahead and close this up. But I'm super excited about all the technology that I saw on our call leading up to this live streaming event. And I'm already putting in a purchase order. Sorry, Tony, for some of the tools I saw in the in that. And so I'm excited for us personally. We're going to be bringing a show like this to the Dev Central audience soon. But excited to join you guys and all the sales enablements that you know technologies like this are going to afford.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, hey, thank you guys.
All right.
Thanks,
Take
Bill
care.
and Mike.
Later, guys.
Appreciate it.